Bonjour, welcome to Road Base Paris. This base is a bit further out from the action. It's all the way over here. So this mission, when I finally finish it, if I ever finish it, is going to include attacks into South Ossetia or South Ossetia. So I've heard it pronounced both ways by people I trust, so I'm not really sure. Today, simple mission. I'm going to show you how to place waypoints down manually through waypoint enter. So someone gives you some coordinates, you can find and hit that target. And we're going to use rockets in a pop-up attack. This is a simple weapon, effective weapon, but actually I think we often neglect it. It's actually a pretty decent way to fly. And there are certain targets that I find this is the safest way to engage them with. So I'm teaching it to you first. First things first, let's get the engines fired up. Main power. Run the data cartridge. We won't run a custom cartridge today. Turn on some lights. I always do a little bit. Oxygen. Seats done. Alright. Since we're going to be using rockets, I'm going to set my weapon selector right now. I'm going to rotate it around to attack. By default, most weapons use attack, and you can find the other weapons on the weapon selector. Just have a quick look first, actually. You can see the inner row is bombs. The outer row is the RBO5, which we rarely use anything but mark mode. I'm looking forward to teaching you guys how to use that. It's a great weapon. And we also have the RB75 Maverick mode here, but otherwise, we're usually using the attack mode for air-to-ground stores. For missiles, for anti-ship missiles, yeah, attack is the way to go, and also for rockets. I like to unhook this, the drop tank switch, so it's always available. These guards stop you from pressing the button, so yeah. As always, we're going to go to ref Lola and type in 9099 and enter. Apologies for my croaky voice. I've come down not with the spicy cough, but something else. Okay, while we're here, let's pick our target. What should we destroy? I like hitting nice big bridges, actually. Let's find... There's one there, but I'd rather find something a little further away, so we've got time to talk. Let's cut off this bridge. Is there one in here? I thought there was. Oh, we just missed one of those SU-17s. Yeah, let's knock out this bridge here. Near Vartsee? I don't know. Okay. Well, we're going to put down a mark circle here just to sort of give us a reference anyway. But in truth, we're not going to type anything in here. So we'll just put Blurgle. Okay. So what we want to do, the Viggen is good in some ways, in the sense that I think it's good in many ways, but I can enter in coordinates for a target by feel. And I'm serious. Like, if I'm flying along, my hand's on the stick and I'm on the throttle as well, and you send me coordinates on my number pad, actually, I'll just quickly show you. I've got my number pad set up to run the whole computer. So if you look at your number pad, and I assume you've got one, the slash and asterisk keys at the very top, those are what I use to switch modes. The plus and minus keys set my in and out functions, and the number pad is, the number pad. Enter is LSQ, and LMAL is delete. If you set it up this way or some other way that you're happy with, you can enter coordinates in while you're flying, no worries. It's not the A10 where you've got to switch to this mode here and type that in and add the address, or even the Apache where you've got to tell the waypoint what it's going to be called before you're even entering coordinates. This thing, as long as you enter the coordinates in the right way, you're fine. And just on that, the Viggen is the only aircraft I know which goes longitude then latitude, so la, as opposed to everywhere else where it's latitude then longitude up top here. But as an example, I'm going to go ref Lola, input, put my mouse on the place I want to bomb or blow up with rockets, and then I can simply read off the very top left and type in the coordinates with the eastings, the longitude first, and then the northings. So in this case, 424236 420914. And that's stored that information as memory. We're going to add this as a... I'm not sure how many waypoints we have. We go as far as B7. So I'll add this as B8. Done. One problem you've probably seen remember this from last time, the B0. If you're on my road base, this means your jet does not know where it is. So let's quickly fix that. Air bases. We are at FAAB London. Sorry, FAAB Paris. This should be the last one, which it is. 9033. Enter that as our starting point. And I think we're going to go land at London. I quite like this one. It's one of the harder bases to land on, so maybe you'll see me crash, but I'm pretty happy with how that base looks. So, done. So we're going to take off from Paris, fly over here, blow up this bridge, and then head over to London. I'm going to skip doing pop-ups today. I think I just want to show you a good attack with rockets, and then we'll do pop-ups afterwards at a different time. Alright, so system's online, we're all happy. Let's pop the brakes and get moving. By default, the Viggen has the wheel brake on down here. But if we tap a brake, the brake comes off. Now we've got a bit of a crosswind here, so we'll see how that goes on takeoff. I should thank my Swedish buddy Traktar for finding this road base and presenting it to me. So I put him in the credits for this mission as well, but that is quite the crosswind. Alright, we'll see how we go. But yes, he has a YouTube channel. It's been up for a very long time, and he taught me most of what I know in the Viggen, so I want to thank him and his son. And they certainly helped me with my pronunciation of Swedish words, although I'm sure I'm still not getting it right in a lot of ways. Okay. Now we could have started our takeoff run a long way back there, but the fields are all standardized for the same length, about 900 meters. Okay, as before, we're going to put the brakes on, turn the computer on, so nav. I have this bound to my throttle as the China hat, aft for nav and forward for ANF for attack mode. We look through, make sure we're roughly lined up. We should be. Don't like the fact that there are like phone lines there, but we should have no troubles getting off the ground with this payload. The rocket pods are pretty lightweight as well, so they're good if you've got any reason to be taking off shorter than normal. That made sense in my head when I said it. Full power. Release. I'm going to do a reference here to make sure that we have a good compass alignment. Just using little touches of the right brake to keep us lined up. I'm going to be ready to catch the rudder as well on takeoff, because I think that... There it is, you see that? There we go. When we first got the Viggen for the DCS, the AOA stuff was really, really nasty. If you pulled more than 15 degrees AOA, certainly very quickly, the engine would stop. But it's not so bad now. It's just about managing it. I've got, by the way, this function here that raises and lowers the HUD. I've got it bound to the big red button on my left throttle. Alright, so let's say we're going to be flying towards B8. It's about 20 k's away, so we're pretty much on top of the target already. If I switch into attack mode, you'll notice that we turn towards the target. We can line up either with the ADI's bars or with the radar cursor. We've got a little circle on the HUD, but you see how it's slightly above the target? That is a factor of QFE. So the computer is computing the 3 dimensions. Essentially, the Viggen simplifies... I'll pause here. The Viggen simplifies the problem of trying to render and resolve 3D targeting by simply... It really only renders, to my understanding, it only really renders the 2D, the latitude and longitude, and the rest is done by air pressure. That's probably simplifying it, but as an example, you can see that the Q is above the target. It's not really a problem. It's pretty easy to see where our target is. But if we go down here and start adjusting the QFE, and I'll use my binding to do this so you can see the effect, that circle will move. So that's the correct QFE for that target there. Anyway, ideally we want to be about 7 or 8 kilometers from target with a bit of an offset like this. And when we hit about 8 kilometers or so, we pop up fairly aggressively. So we can stay usually below the terrain like this. That's 9, that's 8. We pop up. If we can't find the target visually, we look on our ADI and center up the cues, and that should bring us onto the target nicely. We're actually a little bit shallower than I would have liked, but that's okay. With bridges, I find aiming for one of the pylons gives the best results. We should be able to sink this bridge in one trigger pull. Trigger unsafe. Wait for the wings. Wings. Pull off. Break away. We shouldn't be looking at our target, but I love the black smoke of these rockets too. But as you can see, we should have knocked out a chunk of that bridge. It should be not... There we go. Bridge destroyed. So the rockets are really, really useful. They're a very flexible weapon. So much so that I think what I'm going to do is land at London, up here, and then I'm going to get some more rockets and come back and show you a pop-up attack, because I think it is time we learned that. So, as you can imagine, if your target's sort of over there and you're trying to focus on flying and dodging power lines and whatnot and zipping through the trees and everything, trying to work out where your target is and flying towards a good place to pop up can be confusing, can add to your workload. And the Viggen is designed to really reduce your workload as much as possible. So, I'm going to punch my tank here and burn off some weight. We can use the computer to designate a pop-up location to make the attack from. So what we're going to do is repeat that attack with rockets, this time with the automated pop-up system. So we'll drop in, land, rearm, refuel, and then we'll come back and blow up that same bridge again. Now, if you're flying my mission, this road base works a little bit differently. Like, I can go to landing nav, and we can see, flip-flop for landing, we can see that there's like a queue and everything and a flat plan to land off, but this base is actually buried in that town down there in Tikabuli. So, you know, I pronounce it Tikabuli. Or is it Tikibuli? I don't know. But that's the town. It's in this little valley. If you try and fly the computed approach, you're going to have a bad time. So, I'll show you the approach that I use. We're actually really heavy and probably have a crosswind, so this is riskier. Let's see if I can demonstrate my good go-around sort of culture to you. Let's bring the thrust back. Out go the Luftbroms. Light down there says Luftbroms, that means air brakes. You'll notice the air brakes are really fairly ineffective in the Viggen. I have heard that they were actually welded shut on certain versions or certain Viggens to reduce the maintenance cost, and that, you know, essentially if you wanted to slow down in the Viggen, well, you use the plane as an air brake and pull some G's and build some alpha, build some angle of attack. Alright, we're almost at gear down speed. This is going to be a little bit of a messy one, I think. Down goes the gear, and I'm trying to use as much of this strip as I can, and I'm ignoring the rest of the cues, but I'm using the runway heading cue right there to line up, keeping my eye on the power, dropping the HUD glass a bit. Okay, looking good so far. We're landing on that road, which you still can't quite see actually, so don't mind if you missed it. Looking good so far. I'm going to go to landing PO because I know where the field is. Ooh, a little bit of power. We're definitely heavy. See, we're coming through at about 300 Ks. So we're really coming in overweight and one of the harder fields. And I'd be curious to know what kind of crosswind we have. So we land on the right field. The left one is actually just a railway line, and I don't think that's going to work terribly well. Alright, we're still a little high on approach. We want to get that queue down a bit. And there are trees all the way through here. So don't try and slow as much as you can. Don't try and stall it onto the road base. Keep control and worry more about where you're pointing your jet and keeping stability. Reverser armed. That should be done long before that, actually. Bad Tempest. Naughty Tempest. That's looking good. I'm confident this is going to work. Down. Power. Worried about putting my right gear then into the grass. Oh yeah, she's not happy. There we go. But we stopped in time. Okay. Welcome to SAABliterating London. This is cool. Each time I make a video, I'm going to show you a new part of my mission. If you're a tomcat, put your wings back coming through here. By the way, we've been testing these road-based missions for a while. And personally, I think the Spitfire is the hardest thing to land on a road base. But my buddy Deadstick did it, and I have video evidence. I'll have to put it up sometime. And I owe him some beverage of his choice. And he hasn't yet claimed that. But there's nowhere to turn around, you say. Tempest, this is no good. What are we supposed to do? We could use the ski jump, but I think that's actually, the ski jump is lined up nicely with the air, so maybe we should have. But instead I will show you the cool and groovy turnaround that I've developed. So to do this, you want to put yourself in the left-hand lane, like you're driving in Australia. And stop. Press the left brake in, put the reverser on, and add power until the nose comes up. The aircraft will turn around like so. Bring the power off as you turn like that. And you're now lined up. A little bit of full brake at the end to lock it in place. If you put a wheel in the grass, it might stick a little bit, but that's not the end of the world. Okay, I'll put us into nav. We're going to rearm, and while we're rearming, we're going to be given a new target, I think. And we're going to have to hit it from a certain angle. So let's get to that. Let's go to Burr. Burr puts... Okay, so Burr is like standby. I think it means Berioscope, if I'm saying it correctly. That allows us to sort of turn off the computer so we won't build any drift while we're here. Reference LS. Now, because we're at a new takeoff point, we need to enter in the code for London. So input 9032 and enter. And I think I'm going to land us back at Dublin at the end. So 9031 landing point. So I selected El Mal for landing point there. Let's get some new weapons and some... I won't worry about fuel, just weapons will be fine. Rockets.
Request rearming.
Cool.
Copy.
New target is going to be... something juicy, something cool. Let's... I've got a target range down here. Let's hit something in Poti or Potty. Let's knock out the railway bridge at Potty. So I'll put a circle on here just for visualization, but we don't have to. Spong. Okay, let's turn the computer to input reflola. And let's type in these coordinates now. 4159421130. That information is in memory. Let's set it to be 9, and we have a target. Now, if we switch to B9, B9 is simply a waypoint. It's just a normal waypoint, but we might want to do some cool things by making it into a mission waypoint. If you want a pop-up point, my understanding is you have to make this into an M waypoint. To do that, we go to tactical. This has all of the tactical codes in it. So input, we want to press 9, and then press this waypoint. And now it's an M waypoint, which means that if we change its location with radar or visual fix, it will just move that waypoint. It won't move the others, but also it allows us to do a pop-up point attack. So ideally, we want to be 8 Ks from this target when we pop up into our rockets. So 8 Ks. And it matters what heading we're on. Now, actually, we're going to be entering the reciprocal of the heading mentioned here, the opposite. So we want to engage from this island, I'd say. So we want to stay in low, follow the island. Follow the rivers. That'll be a nice low point, lots of cover. We're going to pop up at 8 Ks and hit our target. So if we type in, as it says here, 068 as a heading and 8 Ks, it'll actually put it over here because we'll be heading towards the target. So my advice would be put it where you want it and then draw a new line. So we want 248 for 8 Ks. So input 248 is the heading at the start, and then 080. So that's tens of kilometers, and then hundreds of meters right here. Let's push that onto B9, and now we've got a U waypoint. If we select B9 again, it'll swap between the two. He said it will swap between the two of them. Ugh. Did I get that wrong? I'm sure it does that. Maybe it's because we're not in nav mode, but I'll just quickly enter the information again. 248080 BX9. B9, yeah. Let's ignore BX points for the moment, they're a bit more complicated. Done. So we've got our rockets, we have our target, we have a pop-up point as well to keep us safe on the way in, and we're good to go. Let's taxi off. We've got a tailwind for this takeoff. Personally, I find tailwinds less of an issue than crosswinds for road-based takeoffs. What kills you on a road base is putting a wheel, which as you can see there's not much clearance, into the grass either side. That's what spits you off and kills you. So I'll take a tailwind over a nasty crosswind. I've usually got a bit of turbulence in the mission too. Feel free to tune it down if you like, but I find turbulence keeps me sort of participating in the landing and focusing on what I'm doing. Man, these buildings are getting close. Oh, a quick note about London here, right? So we used to have the start-off point back here, right? Longer field, it's safer. When it was back here, you'd accelerate, and you'd actually get a little bit of air off this little jump here. And you would come crashing down, break a landing gear, and skid off and die. So we moved it forward a bit. Sometimes it's safer to have less runway. Right, lower the HUD glass, let's go to nav. Now remember, these are our landing cues here. These only show up if you go back to Burr and then into nav. Quick look over everything, we're happy. Let's hit the burners and take off. Cool. And let's do a fixed point. No nav assist error, that's good. A little bit of left rudder, we're happy. We should have no worries getting off the ground here. Pulling back. Oh, that was it was almost a tail strike actually. That was a bit aggressive. One thing I'll note, when your gear is down, these flaps on your canards are down as well, so you can fly at a lower speed. So in some cases, particularly with a heavy war load, you're better off keeping the gear down until you get enough speed happening. So I'd probably gear up at about 350 to 400. Your gear must be up by 550, otherwise it can sustain damage and lock down. And I'm letting my jet build up plenty of speed so that I can get over this hill. Alright, we did it. What a beautiful little fighter we have. Powerful too. Alright, waypoint 9. Let's fly towards it. So, as you can see, it's still a U waypoint, which is cool. But let's pretend that bridge at Poti is the railway bridge, which we've been tasked to knock out, is covered by a really nasty SAM site. Something cruel and nasty, like maybe an SA6 or something, or maybe even something nastier than that. So if we try and find the target visually, we're going to have a hard time finding it. And also, if we're trying to balance the arithmetic in our head of where our target should be and our pop-up points, we're going to be overloaded and we'll probably fly into a power line or something, which happens to the best of us. While I'm here, actually, I'm going to show you something. Okay, so we're currently supersonic, Mach 1.0, well 1.1 actually, and accelerating. The Viggen is very, very quick. So first rule of thumb, if you're really, really fast like this, pulling the stick suddenly is a good way to snap your wings. So, something to remember. Now, Mach tuck is a problem as well. Essentially, an aircraft is in two states of balance at a time, its center of mass and its center of lift. If I had the skills, I'd be getting out my little red texters and showing all this and trying to explain it, but I think actually it's better explained on other channels. But when you go supersonic, your center of lift changes its position, and so your center of mass doesn't, of course, but what happens is as we come back through Mach 1 into 0.9, so into those transonic speeds, you will see the nose will move up or down depending on which way you're going through it. So keep an eye on this. This is what happens if you Alt-Tab, so I'll keep my stick completely neutral. See that push down? I'm not commanding that. That's the plane's center of lift changing. So what'll happen is you'll try and get a really cool picture of yourself flying, F3 or something, and take some screenshots. Maybe someone's messaged you. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, who knows why. But you're checking your phone or something, have a sip of tea, and you'll go through the transonic region and you'll get caught by it. So typically what happens is you're flying along and we go to full afterburner, so burner 3, and I'll just keep my hand off the stick, and you watch this. Okay, so a bit of trim there, and now 0.9, 0.8, we're getting Mach tuck there where it's lifting the nose up. So that can happen too. That might expose you to a SAM site. And again, when we decelerate, it'll bring the nose down. So just something to bear in mind. And you'll notice actually if you have an autopilot channel engaged, like say we have autopilot hold, the autopilot will try its best to fight this, but it will flash and warn you. It's like, hey bro, stuff's happening, probably want to be taking manual control. So here we go, transonic region. It seemed to handle it pretty well that time. Sometimes it does. Let's try going back through it. Let's see if we get the flash. Transonic. Anyway, you'll see it. If you see flashing autopilot channels, it means something's not happy, and it's alerting you to take positive control. All right. So again, with the range indicator for waypoints, it says currently 5 of something. It says 5 mil, like miles, but actually it's tens of kilometers. Everything's in metric in the Viggen. So the Swedish mile is 10 kilometers. Alright, let's pretend we've got that really nasty SAM site. It's so nasty we're even flying below the power lines. So, and it's so stable down low. I just love how it flies. On the approach, we want to use burner 1, as indicated down here. Burner 1 is actually remarkably fuel efficient, so would recommend if you've got a semi-decent attack that you need to do with some speed, burner 1 and 2 probably look after you. Burner 3 really eats the fuel, but you go very fast, very quickly. The Viggen's got a pretty anemic, pretty low-powered main core for the engine, for its size. Very fuel efficient though, so if you're up relatively high, you can actually get fairly long distance flights happening, which is good because we don't have in-flight refueling. But yeah, make good use of your afterburner. Always use the burner on takeoff, and if you think you're going to stall or you start maneuvering, plug in the burner. A slow Viggen is a very dead Viggen. There's something we might start to see as we get closer, although we might be aligned poorly for this, is there's a mismatch between our navigation cues. So the keen among you might see it. I'll just turn over here to try and demonstrate it. In short, the HUD cues and the ADI guides are going to give us information to the pop-up point, but this cue on the compass gives us a heading to the target. So, and just to refresh, our target's here, a little circle there, but almost like a theoretical target point has been placed here on this island for us to pop up from to make the attack. So, yeah, at the moment, we're kind of in line with both, which is why you can't really see the difference. So I'll try and get a bit more of an angle off. Range indications are to the main waypoint as well, not the pop-up point. Something about trying to say pop-up point with a speech impediment, that just is cruel. Alright, we're 20 k's from target. Let's rip the nose over and hit our target. There we go. So we're going to line up for the HUD cues. You'll see, there we go, pretty clear to see it now, right? So we're being directed by the ADI and the HUD cues to fly towards our pop-up point, but the target is over on the right side, just so we've got an idea of where we're going and what we're looking to see. We'll make the approach in burner 2 or so to try and keep enough speed. We don't want to be supersonic in our pop-up attack. That's a good way to snap wings and things happen too quickly. So it's another reason why it's good to bind your attack cues as well. So when you go up, you can hit the A and F switch. Alright, we should be able to hit our island soon. And there it is. Up we go. Full burner on. Fairly aggressive. We want a good high pop-up. Looking for the railway bridge. There it is, I think. Yep, that's it. There's our HUD cue to guide us into. We could have followed that if we couldn't find it. Oops. But late on my release, let's see if we hit. I'm breaking off. So the reason I'm breaking off here and demonstrating it is because it's very, very tempting to roll and watch your rockets go in. And that is a good way to die horribly. But there go the rockets. Look at that. And I think we're going to be alright. Yeah, we might have got 2 bridges. There we go. So now we're going to get back down to the ground. I'm safing my trigger, and I'm putting myself back in nav. And although we popped up pretty aggressively, we're only visible to threats for a very short window. Radars would have turned on, turrets would have turned, people would have gone, oh my god, it's a Viggen. But it would have been too late. And on the way home, let's get some real speed happening. Oh, that's interesting. Why is it popping me up? There we go. Ah, yep. Actually, that's what I want to show you. See that? The flashing? That comes on, I think, when the yes, when you go for autopilot, altitude hold, and you pass through the transonic region. So yeah, pop-up attacks are pretty sweet, and once you work out how they work, they really do improve your survivability against certain defended targets, particularly against AAA. You wind up being there and then gone long before they can really engage you properly. And for SAMs, even some of the nastier SAMs, even S300, pop-ups can work because you wind up well inside their launch range, their minimum launch range. So yeah. That said, where pop-ups don't work is against things like the SA-15 Tor or SA-19 Tunguska. They're designed to kill really advanced precision-guided weapons. So, oops, that's the Mark Tuck right there. You see that? I looked down for a second. Yeah. Would have been an embarrassing end to the mission, wouldn't it? Okay. So I've set up the computer for a computer nav landing, as demonstrated in the last video, road-based video. And we're landing at Dublin, so I want to be aiming for a bit of a climb here. I think in the next video I'm going to try and demonstrate how nav drift occurs and sort of explain the INS with a bit more clarity. So the idea will be to explain how to fix your navigation system as errors come up, how to tell if you have errors, and yeah, also to sort of get an understanding in mission making. I put a flat plan together before and it wasn't really coming through, so I've got to fix that. But putting waypoints in really distinct bits of terrain that you can quickly fix either visually or with the radar can help you with that. So we'll talk all about that next time, and I think that'll be fun. While I'm here, I know waypoint 2 is a QFE of 1000, so we'll just drop this down to 1000. There we go. Just for completeness. If we want to, we can just be cheeky. I think I will actually. I'll cut through the corner, right through the center. Oh, our fuel got kind of low in that flight. We used a lot of burner 3. That'll do it. We'll do a short landing. A shortened approach, I should say. It's always a short landing in the Viggen. The reverser, nice and early. Another good control to have bound. I've got the I use a Warthog, Thrustmaster Warthog. So I use the little switch on the outer part of the left throttle. Might be worth me doing a video where I explain my control bindings too, come to think of it. There we are, Tills is flashing. We should get guidance soon. We'll get solid Tills shortly. Any second now. We're a little fast. There it is, solid tills. We've caught the localizer. And we're on heading, perfectly on heading. There we go. Yep, the system must have very little drift because that basically brought us bang on. Once you get full tills as well, the computer kind of aligns your jet anyway and fixes up drift, but we'll talk about that later on. I'm aware that these videos are a bit sort of scattered and all over the place, but I think it's sort of, like, I can try and teach one topic, but one topic kind of bleeds into the next. I think today's flight was fun. You saw me hit some targets and saw my workflow a little bit. You got an idea of sort of how I couple things together. But yeah, there are some very advanced weapons in the Viggen, and I think we often forget that the rockets probably are what you would use most practically in a lot of situations. They're relatively cheap, they're pretty powerful, they'll take out a tank no worries and blow apart bridges and things. Good for suppressing artillery positions, that kind of stuff. So learning how to safely and effectively use a weapon like the rockets is probably going to benefit you a lot. That turbulence is pretty gnarly, but we're keeping our jet where we sort of want it. There we go. A little bit faster. That's it. That's where we want to be. Don't want to over zoom out. We want to keep a good peripheral vision. And we don't want to come in too low and strike the ground here at the bend. So we'll extend just a whisker. Oh, there we go. Came in a little bit off to the right side then. But we're much lighter with expended weapons and little fuel. You can see how much easier the landing is. So when you're learning to operate off road bases, I recommend you fly around a bit, burn some fuel, then come back. But yeah, thanks for flying with me today. And if you enjoy the mission, please give it a download and have some fun with it. Always open for ways to improve it as well. And I'm going to end this mission with a quick run up the ski jump because it's right there. We're at low fuel, so it'll probably end in an amusing way anyway. We'll roll through here, take the ski jump, and then I'll punch out. A little SA. I have Stinger team over there for air defenses. Alright. That's much shorter than the other runway, isn't it? Can we do it? Yes, we can. Getting pretty quick. There we go. Something. Oh, yep. That's all fuel warning. Yeah, that worked pretty well actually. The ski jump does work well. That's pretty light though. Alright. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.